Welcome in to Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thank you so much for being here. The Jaguars have taken down the Cowboys in overtime by a final score of 40-34. To get to 6-8 on the season, the Cowboys fall to 10-4. Jaguars were down by 17 in the third quarter to the Dallas Cowboys. Come back and win in a startling overtime victory over the Dallas Cowboys. We've got my phone blowing up right now. People don't realize that we're trying to get Duval Daily out here for the people, the content for the people. Grandpa Ralph's calling in right now, but that's okay. He's going to have to wait. Your Jacksonville Jaguars, one step closer to potentially earning a playoff spot in 2022. The Titans are taking on the Chargers as we speak in Los Angeles. If the Titans fall to the Chargers in LA, the Jaguars will be within one game of the Tennessee Titans. The Titans would be 7-7. The Jaguars are 6-8. Jaguars would be within one game with 3 games to go and the final game of the season against the Tennessee Titans. Let's dive into this one. The only place we can start here is obviously with Trevor Lawrence. This kid, unbelievable stretch of games now when you talk about what Trevor Lawrence has been doing. This is now his 6th consecutive game where he has really, really shined. And this one wasn't a perfect one. There was a couple mistakes by Trevor. You had the fumble, you had the interception, but unbelievable second half. Such a clutch performance by Trevor Lawrence and by a lot of these Jaguars. You talk about Evan Ingram getting himself out of bounds late in that game, late in that fourth quarter. You talk about Rayshon Jenkins picking off that pass and returning it for 6 in overtime. Backs against the wall for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game and for the season, really. This was a critical game for the Jaguars to win. They didn't have to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, but it certainly boosts their chances, and now it boosts morale as well. This is a signature win for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but Trevor Lawrence, 27 of 42 for 318 yards, 4 touchdown passes by Trevor Lawrence in this one. This kid has been playing out of his mind. He now has 14 touchdown passes in his last 6 contests. The kid is the truth. Trevor Lawrence is the generational player you thought you were getting when the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted him with the first overall pick in 2021. You talk about Travis Etienne's fumble. We're not going to talk about a lot of the negatives right now. We're going to focus on the positives for this show right after the game. We will dive into some more in-depth analysis tomorrow morning. We will take a look at some of the issues here, like the Travis Etienne fumble. But Etienne, outside of that fumble, he had a game, and he was dealing with a little bit of an ankle. He had 19 carries for 103 yards, 5.4 yards per carry against a Cowboys defense that was allowing 4.3 per carry on the season. Had a really strong day. Jamal Agnew was getting the ball a ton for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had 3 carries for 52 yards, 17 yards a carry for him. He was also able to catch 2 passes for 12 yards on 3 targets. So Jamal Agnew had a big day. Zay Jones, another huge day for the Jaguars, and he had the catch that got the Jags down in to field goal range there at the end of the game. And what a kick by Riley Patterson to tie the game at the end and send it into overtime. Really clutch play by a lot of people on that drive for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But he targeted 8 times was Zay Jones, 6 catches, 109 yards, 3 touchdowns for Zay Jones. 3. Unbelievable game for Zay Jones. I thought this would be a Christian Kirk game as well, and it was. He caught 6 of 10 targets for 92 yards, 15 yards a catch. Evan Ingram, another big game for him. He was targeted 10 times, caught 8 balls for 62 yards, and again was able to fight through a tackle to get out of bounds to stop the clock to save the Jaguars a timeout. If he did not do that, the Jaguars do not win this football game. Etienne also got in on the party, catching 2 passes for 24 yards, so he ended up with 127 total yards on the day for the Jags. Marvin Jones doesn't catch a lot of passes for the Jaguars, but the ones he does catch are usually pretty clutch. Was able to catch a touchdown pass in this one from Trevor Lawrence, and really unbelievable performance. Jags were down 17 in the third quarter. They come roaring back. They score 21 points in about 7 minutes of game time, and come back and beat the Dallas Cowboys in Jacksonville in front of a packed house. It was the highest grossing Jaguar game of all time, surpassing one of those games late in 2017. I think it was actually against the Bills in the playoffs in the wild card round. This was the highest grossing ticket sales game for the Jacksonville Jaguars of all time. Rayshawn Jenkins, 18 total tackles, 2 passes defended, and yes, the game-winning interception. He also had a big interception earlier in the game. This was the game of Rayshawn Jenkins' career. I thought Foye Oluokun, who was second in the team in tackles, also had a pretty big game. Was not perfect, in pursuit against Tony Pollard all the time here, but Foye continues to be a steadying presence at linebacker. Devin Lloyd picked up 9 total tackles. Didn't think it was his best game. Chad Muma did not play much. I'm not sure if that has to do with the injury he was dealing with or what. But, Devin Lloyd made some nice plays, but still left some meat on the bone out there, no doubt about it. Talk about the Jaguars' pass rush getting it going this week. Arden Key with a sack and a half. Foley Fatukasi with half a sack. And yes, Josh Allen did pick up a big sack for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. This was a complete team performance, right? When you talk about winning the game in the second half, obviously you never want to give up 34 points. You never want the Cowboys to be able to move the ball the way they did. But once the Jaguars stole the momentum in the third quarter, their defense starting to show some fight, right? Or before that, it was ugly. The Jaguars defense looked listless. But you look at Trevor Lawrence getting the offense back going in this game. I think it fired the defense up as well, and the defense was able to ride some of that momentum and get the Jaguars the big W in this one down the stretch by, again, Rayshawn Jenkins picking off multiple passes, guys getting sacks, guys getting pressure, guys making big tackles in the backfield. The Jaguars had 7 tackles for loss in this one, 5 passes defended, 8 quarterback hits, 3 sacks, and a game-winning defensive touchdown by Rayshawn Jenkins. An unbelievable performance all around. I mean, the Jaguars winning an overtime contest against the Dallas Cowboys 40-34. Just not what you expected just a few weeks back looking at how these Jacksonville Jaguars were playing. But they've gotten back on the right track. They're playing good football overall. They've now won 4 of their last 6 ball games. 4-2 over their last 6 during this stretch of Trevor Lawrence playing unbelievable ball. Unfortunately, you did have Cam Robinson and Jawan Taylor go down in this game. Jawan came back. Cam Robinson did not come back in the game with a knee injury, although he was questionable to return. So Walker Little finished out the game, and he did a pretty good job. They were like, we're going to attack this matchup with Micah Parsons, but they did a pretty good job, Walker Little did, holding up against Micah Parsons in this one late down the stretch. Again, we're not going to get into all the negatives from this game because whenever you give up 34 points, there are going to be a lot of negatives. But we're just looking at the positive stuff. Tomorrow morning, when we go more in depth with our top takeaways from this one, we'll certainly talk about some of the negatives. But right now, this is just a time for celebration for Jaguars fans. A 40-34 win over the Cowboys to get the team to 6-8. Now you get to watch the Tennessee Titans game against the Los Angeles Chargers with bated breath. Jags have a chance to get within 1 game of the AFC South lead on this Sunday, December 18th. 3 weeks left in the season after this one. It's going to be an unbelievable feeling throughout Duval this week, an unbelievable amount of energy from this fan base. From this city. It's going to be a lot of fun to be a part of this over the next few weeks. And the Jaguars, they head to New Jersey to take on the New York Jets this Thursday. And the Jets, I believe they just fell to the Detroit Lions. I'll check on that real quick, make sure I'm giving you all the accurate info. Yes, the Lions took down the Jets 20-17. Jets have a tough defense. It looked like Zach Wilson might have played a little bit better football today than he had been in the past. We'll see how the quarterback situation plays out for the Jets on Thursday night. But the Jaguars will have an opportunity to potentially get tied for the AFC South division lead in Week 16. And of course, the showdown in Week 18, Titans at Jaguars, TIAA Bank Field, final game of the regular season. Looks like it's setting up to be a huge one. Got to give credit here again. to Riley Patterson before we close this out. Riley Patterson, 48-yard field goal to win the game. The Cowboys tried to ice him, and you always hear, you don't want to allow the kicker that you're trying to ice to actually attempt the field goal, basically getting a practice kick, but that's what the Cowboys did. Patterson made the practice kick. It wasn't pretty, but it went in, and then when it counted, after they iced him, he drilled it. It was a great kick by Riley Patterson from 48 yards out. Just a special win for the Jaguars, special moment for Trevor Lawrence and this offense and this team as a whole. This is going to be just one of those wins you look back incredibly triumphant. Beating the Dallas Cowboys, a team that was 10-3 coming into this game, a team with a prolific offense and a really, really good defense, a dangerous pass rush. Huge win for these young Jaguars. This is the signature win of the season now. I think it definitely eclipses what they did against the Ravens, even though that was a really fun one too. But now you're seeing the Jaguars starting to play with a lot of confidence at home in Jacksonville. They've been winning games in front of their home crowd in 2022, and it's something you love to see. But that's going to do it. Again, we will dive further into this game tomorrow morning. Be sure to come back and check it out. I'll provide more in-depth analysis and really get into the nitty-gritty. But right now, you should just celebrate. You should be celebrating all week, really. This was an incredible win by the Jacksonville Jaguars. A gutty performance by Trevor Lawrence, by so many of these players. Rayshon Jenkins, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, even though he had a drop late in the game, still unbelievable performances by these Jacksonville Jaguars to get a 40-34 win over the Dallas Cowboys. That will do it. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Let me know what you think about this big win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can also follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube if you enjoy the content. You can also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a show. You can check out genjag.com, pick up some new Duval gear, or if you want to support the channel, you can become a channel member right here on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval. Enjoy this win, and let's go Chargers, right?